y hoy día hablaremos sobre la invasión rusa a Ucrania. Conmigo vía Zoom está Andrew Fall, trabajador de la biblioteca de Central Connecticut State University. Quisiera decir que conocías al señor Fall cuando era estudiante de dicha universidad. Él es parte de descendencia ucraniana en adición a otros países europeos. Welcome, Andrew. I wish that we could be talking about a topic not so tragic, but here we are. Mr. Fall, I remember we communicated last week, February 23rd, which was February 24th Ukraine time, on the day the invasion started. And you said you have family in Ukraine. What is their situation?
Luckily, in the western part of Ukraine, and there's quite a big city called Ternopil. And unfortunately, this is my mom's sister-in-law, who will be 91 in May, so she cannot leave the apartment.
So then, do you think if the war drags on, that your family might consider moving across the border to Poland, or do you think that, especially due to your relatives' advanced age, it would be difficult?
My family, they're not going anywhere. Yeah, because of my aunt's almost 91. You know, her daughter's taking care of her. Even if they wanted to go or had a place to go, it's in the winter. You can't. You know, the lines at the borders were like 20 miles long, and they do have family in Poland, but you're not going to. You know, they're very patriotic. Also, they don't want to go. The men are not able to get out, and they're not going to leave. You know, they're so many people. Poland took almost 1 million refugees. So they all had to say bye to their husbands and brothers that are between 18 and 60. So my family's going to stay there and just hope for the best and fight till the end. I mean, that's what they told me.
What is your overall view on the invasion? It's good to remember that there is a lot of history. In 2014, there was the Russian annexation of the Crimean Peninsula and the takeover of the Donbas area in eastern Ukraine by pro-Russian separatists. And there's a long history of Ukrainian oppression, like a famine in the 1930s, the Nazi invasion in the 1940s, and the 1986 Chernobyl nuclear disaster when Ukraine was still part of the Soviet Union.
Right. I think that the Chernobyl disaster helped Ukraine leave the Soviet Union and helped the Federation fall apart, because after that, the communist authorities lied about what had happened and people were just fed up. And shortly after, 89, the Berlin Wall fell. And then in 91, Ukraine regained its freedom, independence from Soviet Union.
And what do you think the U.S. could be doing? Since the end of the Cold War, the U.S. has taken action, military action, like in Kuwait in 1991 when Iraq invaded them.
Well, it's unfortunate because Ukraine would like a no-fly zone over their country so that the Russians would mean civilians and military targets. Unfortunately, the U.S. government does not want to do that because they would be in direct conflict with Russian planes, and they both have very good planes and the best military technology. And the problem is the weapons is the U.S., so they don't want war to become a nuclear war. Unfortunately, Ukraine had nuclear weapons while it was part of the Soviet Union, and they agreed to give them up if their borders would be safe and no one would invade. And there was, I believe, the Budapest Compromise, some kind of document they signed when they became an independent state, that they would clear weapons, but Russia would guarantee their security and their independence. Russia and a couple other countries, I believe. And like history shows, Russia does not tell the truth. Just like when they were massed on the border for so many weeks, they kept saying, oh, this is just maneuvers, we're just practicing. And of course, they were just waiting for that's when they went in to invade Ukraine, a peaceful, independent country, which never bothered anyone, always wanted to exist with their own freedom from, again, Russia has invaded every. You can remember Finland during World War II, the Baltic states, Lithuania, Poland, of course, during World War II. They Germans on the other. Every country in the Warsaw Pact was part of, they weren't part of the Soviet Union. They were communists and they had to listen to what the Soviet Union said. And then now in Ukraine, and of course, Japan, after World War II, Russia, Soviet Union stole several islands from the Kuril chain. So every neighbor Russia has been hurt by them, has been advantage of, has been bullied, and now Ukraine is aggressor. And I forgot to mention recently Chechnya and Georgia, two Georgia's independent state, and even Armenia. So the Russians, they're just horrible neighbors.
And what do you think about the role of the Ukrainian government? Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky urged the population to stay calm before the invasion and was against evacuations. Should he have ordered the evacuations of major cities?
That is a very difficult question. President Zelensky is a hero. He did not leave. He did not run away. He's standing his ground in Kiev, the capital. Had he ordered evacuation, I think it would be chaos. Told everybody to stay calm, to fight for the homeland, which was probably the best advice. People were going to leave anyhow. Look at all the refugees without him telling them to leave. People wanted to send their wives and children away to the west so they can get into Poland, Romania, all the countries bordering Ukraine. And those countries being part of the EU and NATO, they're welcoming because they know the Ukrainian situation, Russian aggression before. So they're helping the people of the rest. So I think he's doing an admirable job. He comes on quite often, the internet, on television, tells people to remain calm, says we're fighting for our land, our survival. He tells it like it is, news on the military channel. And he's just an amazing leader. And the whole world is looking up to him because they.
¡Feliz cumpleaños! Ya tiene 65. Ahora solo falta una llamada a Latin Premium Insurance al 860-206-0689 para que uno de nuestros expertos agentes, Carlos Ruiz, Héctor Torres, Jackie Chimino, Heidi Torres o Meilín, le ayuden a escoger el plan médico que mejor se ajuste a sus necesidades. Latin Premium Insurance, más de 15 años orientando y sirviendo a los suyos.
How do you see this conflict ending, this war ending?
I hope it ends as soon as possible. Said that, well, Ukraine has already lost part of the Russian-speaking people, but the eastern part of Ukraine does have a lot of Ukrainian history and independence, longing for independence. I think the worst case scenario is that they'll take over and put a puppet president in the capital, Kiev, return to something like the Soviet Union. I think another scenario might be that they will just stay in the east and leave the west alone, and Ukraine will be their own country, but it'll be half the size it is now. Or the fighting keeps going on till this is the best scenario is that the Ukraine with EU help will regain the territory they're losing to the Russians now. I think the people are a formidable opponent. The Russians, I mean, from what I've seen, the Russian soldiers, they don't want to be there. They're afraid. They're defecting. For them, so many people in Russia and Ukraine intermarried. So these soldiers, might have family in Ukraine and forced to shoot members of their own family.
And then, what do you think in this war? It has really gripped the world's sympathy, unlike the others.
Syria, I think, because they're away from Europe, which I think the United States and Canada and even Central America to an extent, because our roots are from Europe, whether it's Spain, Portugal, Germany, England, because I think Americans, or even the North and South American continent, they look at the Middle East as, mostly Arabs, Muslims, so they're very different religion. So they might, they may not care. Even Iraq, most countries didn't care. But Europe, because this is happening in Europe and strong roots in Europe, whether it's Western Europe, we're in NATO. We're not in any alliance in the Middle East.
And there's a common Ukrainian saying, glory to Ukraine. I believe in Ukrainian it's Slava Ukraine. Can you tell us more about the saying?
Slava Ukraine is something you say when you're thinking about your country, and our heroes' glory. In the Ukraine has not died. We say we'll give up our souls, we'll give up our spirit, our bodies for freedom in Ukraine. That's the Ukrainian national.
I said CCSU library recently posted that they will have a section on Ukraine. Can you tell us more?
I guess recently, because everything going on, they're gonna highlight the Ukrainian books. A lot right now. A lot of them are intermixed with the Polish, but they're hoping to, show off the more Ukrainian materials for Ukrainian studies. There is at Harvard University, there is a Ukrainian Research Institute in Cambridge, actually. So they're very well known, and I even went there one semester to study Ukrainian history and language.
About Ukrainian organizations in Connecticut that you're a part of, and if there's any fundraisers, or if you have attended any protests or plan to attend protests about Ukraine.
Ukrainian National Home in Wethersfield Avenue, has had several demonstrations, and we've gone to the Capitol, and there's the Ukrainian Credit Union. They've started financial drives for humanitarian aid, and I sing in the Ukrainian vocal ensemble called Yevshan. To the demonstration, I heard Wesleyan's having a demonstration either tonight or tomorrow. So the area universities are very active in trying to bring attention to the situation.
And I believe that New York City especially has arguably like the biggest Ukrainian population in the US, or one of the biggest, which also has there's neighboring states like Connecticut have also had relatively big Ukrainian populations. I know in New Britain, where Central is located, there's a very large Polish population, and I believe that you're of both, Polish and Ukrainian ancestry.
Yes, and there's 2 Ukrainian churches in New Britain, and we have gold domes on our church. And there's the Ukrainian Orthodox Church more towards downtown, which is on Winter Street. And the Orthodox Church is over 100 years old.
Mr. Fall, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with Intia Latina. And we really hope for the best in this situation that is really tragic. We are seeing, the spirit of the Ukrainian people, and it is inspiring to so many around the globe.
And thank you for getting the word out and letting the Spanish people know what's going on, because they've been through a lot of tragedies too in different countries. So yes, we all say we keep the faith.